Today on Law Weekly, we get yet another perspective on some of the recommendations of the Committee on Law, Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Reforms of the National Conference. 2 weeks ago, that committee, headed by retired Justice Adeshola Oguntade, submitted and had its report discussed at the National Conference. My guest today is a senior legal practitioner and a consummate writer, a very passionate advocate and champion of human rights and legal reforms, Mr. Jiti Ogunye. As always, Mr. Ogunye has some very well thought out comments on the workability or not of some of the recommendations of the conference. But we'll get to that discussion in a bit. The program is Law Weekly on Channels Television, and I am Shola Shoyeli. Last week, I had mentioned on the show that we'll be talking to one of the presidential candidates for the Nigerian Bar Association elections, scheduled for the 14th and 15th of July. With the elections barely a week away, it appears there's been no let-up in the campaign trail, as the candidates are still crisscrossing the length and breadth of the country, talking to the lawyers and the delegates who will vote, and generally selling their mandates. So we'll serve you yet another interview on the show today. But before then, the Lagos State Ministry of Justice and the Nigerian Bar Association held a workshop on the delay in justice administration, looking beyond the rules and the law. The governor of Lagos State had some very interesting comments at that workshop, and we have details in this next report.
The workshop, which was held last week Thursday, attracted judges and magistrates, mostly of the Lagos State Judiciary, members of the outer and inner bar, officials of the Lagos State Ministry of Justice, led by the Attorney General, whose ministry and the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association, especially in Lagos, collaborated to organize the workshop. The theme, Delay in Justice Administration, Beyond the Rules and the Law, is a topical one, and the Governor of Lagos, Babatunde Fashola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, makes some very compelling submissions that should generate some food for thought.
First, I have asked myself, are we an unduly litigious people? Do we just like to go to court? Have we taken our rights and our freedoms to some extremes? And those are questions that we really must pose and see where the numbers lead. What do the numbers suggest? But if it's any comfort, just checking the number of cases filed in the Lagos Judiciary in 2013, a little over 6,000, 6,043, as against the number filed in the Royal Court of Justice in the Strand, about 29,000. Fewer people obviously live in the city of London than do in Lagos. And they filed about almost 5 times more cases. Then perhaps, but are we willing to accept the consequences of the choices that we have made? When we have submitted cases to court, are we honest and fair losers? And are we gracious victors? But regular power supply is another investment that is a major determinant of whether there will be delays or not. I think that it is fair to say now that at least in the Lagos division, that is a reducing problem, if not a totally eliminated problem because of the Lagos IPD. If you practiced in Lagos between 1997 and the year 2000, as I did, and you appeared in the old wing, the oldest wing of the Lagos High Court, facing the cricket ground, you will notice, if you are observant enough, to know that at around 5 minutes to 9, power will go off. And it will not return until around midday. And then you will have uninterrupted power till the evening. That was enough time for all the judges to have waited to see if anything will change. And thereafter, the order was to ask their registrars to adjourn the cases on Monday morning, like clockwork. I later found out that this was the work of some litigants working in concert with Pt.1 officials at the time. They didn't want the cases to go on.
Other lawyers at the event also made other suggestions for dealing with the delays in the justice administration system.
I'm examining the issue of non-judicial staff. Most times they file your cases in court. The cases are not assigned. And they're not assigned on time. And even when they are assigned, the issue of giving you a date or even giving you proof of service when it has been served becomes an issue. And even when you have gotten the judgment, the process of even executing the judgment most times become very burdensome. So these are issues we want to really critically examine. Now, if you lie that there are no issues, with the judicial administration, we're lying to ourselves, but we want to examine these things and then find solutions to them one after the other.
I think the legal profession has failed Nigerians. And there is a lot that lawyers can do. We can't govern ourselves anymore. Lawyers use delay as a revenue stream to make money and as a means to deny litigants, to deny people justice, knowing deliberately that that's what they are setting out to do. And I do think that that kind of conduct, which clearly perverts the course of justice, brings the judicial system into utter disrepute, should be sanctioned very seriously. Lawyers who are involved in it, no matter how senior or how low, should be punished properly. Judges who say it should also punish it. And I don't think we are using costs as effectively as we could. So you keep somebody in court for 20 years, and at the end of all of that, you get 80,000 costs awarded. That's not on. I do think costs should be used as a mechanism for as a disincentive against deliberate delay in the system of justice. But delays also has become a mechanism for advancing in the legal profession. So if you can do enough delay litigation, enough interlocutory litigation, you can build up enough casework to become senior advocate of Nigeria. That's nonsense. That's criminal. And I think that should end. But until we create the proper incentives for value for money representation, we are going to continue to have this system. And this system actually creates perverse incentives to make delay possible. And I think we need to re-engineer that.